What's up, everyone? I'm the Kaiji no Kami from the Toku and Animation News Network, and this is my quickie review of Dracula. Remember to click like, subscribe, the bell notification, and whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us. Dracula is the latest adaptation of the book, this time done by Luc Besson, the man who is behind The Fifth Element and Leon the Professional. I can't think of any movie in more recent times I actually liked of his, if there was even anything I really watched of his. But I can honestly say that this movie made some interesting decisions when it came to making changes from the book. First off, this version is more like a remake of the Bram Stoker version that Coppola did, rather than an adaptation of the Dracula novel. Like I said, there's weird choices. Dracula, who's played by, I can't think of his name, he's the guy that did Banshee in X-Men First Class. He was the crazy brother in Get Out. The movie starts out as Vlad the Impaler for probably the first 20 or so minutes. And I can't really say he was a good Dracula. He had no charisma whatsoever. After the little intro, the movie starts off, we are introduced to not named Van Helsing, played by Christoph Waltz. He's a priest who's come into France, and the asylum runner, Duman, who is supposed to be, oh god, now his name's escaping me. I can't think of his name now, the doctor. Well, he takes him to this room that has a crazed woman in there who apparently went crazy on their wedding night, and come to learn that she's actually a vampire. Her name's Maria. Then we go into Transylvania with Jonathan Harker. That guy did a decent job. Dracula's gonna kill Jonathan. Jonathan's like, well, before you do, tell me your whole story. So then Dracula goes on this whole exposition dump that apparently at one point he discovered a perfume that made everyone fall in love with him, and that's what he did to try to find out where his wife Elizabeth's soul was reincarnated into, because she died, obviously, because like I said, it's like a Bram Stoker remake, and he's been searching for her ever since. So he has this perfume that makes everyone fawn over him, and it has the most ridiculous sequences imaginable, with the way people fawn over him and get hypnotized. Like, he's making them do these dance numbers as if it's some musical dance movie or something. And then he does it again later on in the movie that was so bad, it was just over the top in hilarity. I was laughing my ass off at points in this movie, and I don't think I was supposed to be laughing. The woman that plays Elizabetta and Mina, she does an okay job with what she's given to work with. The star of the movie really is Maria. Maria comes out, she's basically the Renfield and Lucy merged into one character, but she was energetic. Every time she was on screen, she brought energy to her. She was the best thing about this film. There's a sequence with her and Mina going around the town, and Dracula is just walking around following them. He looks bored out of his mind, but Maria is making everything extremely fun. And then the movie starts to go into rush mode, as if they're like, oh, we need to wrap this up. So suddenly Mina just goes with Dracula back to Transylvania. They follow him, of course, like in the story. But then it's like this gigantic 10-15 minute action sequence that was just like, what? What is going on here? And then Christoph Waltz. Christoph Waltz was basically playing Christoph Waltz as a non-named Van Helsing. It was hilarious because Christoph Waltz at the end of the movie just walks off. It's like he's saying, well, my paycheck has cleared. Goodbye, y'all. and leaves. The soundtrack was from Danny Elfman, which I liked parts of it, but at the same time, it felt like he was just ripping off the soundtrack from the Coppola movie to do this, and some aspects didn't seem like he was actually recording a Dracula movie. He was recording something else and just was like, they canceled this soundtrack on him, so he was like, okay, well, I'll use this for Dracula. Like I said, there were some interesting changes. Dracula never turns into a wolf, a bat, or a mist. It kind of reminded me of the Hammer film in that regard, that it's like kind of a more realistic take on Dracula, which annoys the hell out of me. It's like, people, it's Dracula. He's a vampire. You don't need to go this realistic route, especially when he sucks people's blood and they turn into vampires. And why are you trying to always go realistic with Dracula? He's supposed to transform into a bat. He should transform into a wolf. He can turn into mist, rats. You need to do at least one of those in your adaptations. In fact, in this day and age, there is no reason not to do all of them. I understand back in 1931, they only did the bat and made mention of the wolf, but still, there's no excuse not to do it properly in this day and age. However, yeah, it was over the top. It's not the worst adaptation of Dracula I've ever seen. That honor still goes to the Frank Langella one, but I'd say it's probably below the Hammer film, which I'm not a big fan of. However, Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee are what sell that film compared to Frank Langella, whatever the hell they were even doing with that crap. I will say I was disappointed they don't have the Demeter scene, because that's usually one of my favorite sequences from the films, because a lot of the movies that do the Demeter scene always find the most creative ways to do the Demeter. Here, I really felt its absence. If you're looking at newer Dracula adaptations, there's their Nosferatu. There is no comparison. Nosferatu is just pure masterful. This is like the little high schoolers' attempt at doing a Dracula adaptation by comparison. Still, it is worth seeing. I don't know if I'd say go see it in theaters, but if you're at home in October and it's streaming, you don't know what you want to do, by all means, give it a watch. You might be pleasantly surprised with how bad it is. I mean, I can honestly say this adaptation is so bad, it's kind of good in that regard. It was awful. Oh my God. It was not good, but at the same time, I had a lot of fun with it. Oh my God, this adaptation. Christoph Waltz was like, yeah, I'm here for a paycheck. That's all they hired me for. They needed someone to play Van Helsing, and I was the only person willing to do it. The guy that played Gaumont did a really good job, though. It seems like he's only a French actor, so I don't know anything from him. Same with Maria and Mina. I don't know those two, but Maria was hands down the best thing about the film. In fact, I would say she is the reason to go watch this adaptation. Another weird thing is Dracula has these like gargoyle familiars just to help him out around the castle. Once again, I don't know why they didn't have him turn into the bat and stuff when he has familiars in the form of gargoyles. Like, okay. It's a lot of weird choices. Some interesting ones, some really interesting aspects. Overall, though, it's another adaptation of Dracula. If you're sick of adaptations, you're not going to want to see it. If you like seeing adaptations, definitely worth it. For the one time at least. But, oh my God. I will say the most hilarious scene is something that some people would have none of. If you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. Anyway, I'm going to give Dracula a 6, generous 7 out of 10. No, I'm going to go with a 6. No, I mean, I did say it's worth watching, and usually that's a 7. I'm going to go with a 6. So, have you seen this new adaptation of Dracula? What is your favorite adaptation of the story? Have you read the original novel? Let me know in the comments. Click like, subscribe, the bell notification, whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support me. You can support me on Patreon, Bluesky, at tokuaannetwork, Facebook, Instagram, Discord at Kaiju no Kami, my website, creativitybydesignllc.com. There's also links in the description below for some GoFundMes, one for health purposes, and one to keep the channel alive for another 10 years. And until next time, bye.